The silence that has echoed through the global music industry for years has finally been shattered. Can you feel the vibration in the air? It's 2026, the year of the ultimate reunion, the year the seven stars have aligned once more to claim their throne. After a period of growth and service, BTS is returning to the European continent, and the scale is nothing short of legendary. This isn't just a tour, it's a monumental homecoming that ARMY has dreamed of for years. From the historic architecture of the North to the vibrant energy of the Mediterranean, 14 cities have been handpicked to host the Rebirth tour. But why these specific locations? What hidden memories do the members hold within these city walls? Imagine the roar of tens of thousands, the purple ocean flooding ancient streets, and the sheer emotional weight of seven voices harmonizing once more. Are you ready to see where history will be made? Which city will witness the most explosive choreography, and which will be the backdrop for the most intimate moments? Can you feel the tension building as the tour dates approach? Let's dive into the 14 European stops that will define the 2026 BTS comeback. Are you ready for the purple takeover? Number 14. Munich. The Bavarian throne where purple meets iron. Can you feel that crisp alpine air hitting your face as the train pulls into the heart of Bavaria? We are starting our journey in a city that breathes history from every cobblestone. But today, the air smells less like traditional pretzels and more like the electric anticipation of a global revolution. Munich, or München as the locals call it, isn't just a stop on a map. It is a statement of power and grace for the 2026 Rebirth tour. This city, known as the home of the monks, is about to become the home of the world's biggest boy band, and the contrast is absolutely poetic. Imagine the scene, the sun setting over the twin onion domes of the Frauenkirche, casting long, dramatic shadows over Marienplatz, while thousands of fans from across the globe gather with their light sticks ready. This is where the old world meets the new legend. Historically, Munich has always been a city of kings and creators, from the mad King Ludwig II and his fairy tale dreams to the legendary Richard Wagner, whose operas once shook these very foundations. Now, it's BTS's turn to write a new chapter in the Bavarian Chronicles. The choice of Munich is strategic and deeply emotional. It's a city that understands the weight of a legacy. As the group prepares to take over the Allianz Arena, a masterpiece of modern architecture that looks like a glowing white cloud from a distance, the atmosphere is thick with a sense of, finally, since the Olympiastadion is tucked away for its long renovation sleep, the Allianz Arena will transform into a pulsating purple heart, visible for miles across the German landscape. But why does Munich feel so different this time? Perhaps it's because this city represents a certain kind of resilience. After years of the world standing still and the members of BTS trading their microphones for military uniforms, returning to a city that was rebuilt from the ashes of history feels like a mirror to their own journey. You can almost see RM wandering through the halls of the Alte Pinakothek, his eyes tracing the strokes of Rubens and Rembrandt, finding inspiration in the timelessness of art that survives centuries. You can imagine Jin laughing as he tries a traditional Weisswurst, reminding us all that even global superstars find joy in the simplest local traditions. There's a rumor whispering through the English Garden, that massive green lung of the city that actually outsized New York's Central Park, that the members might take a moment to watch the surfers at the Eisbachwell. Think about that for a second. In the middle of a landlocked city, people find a way to ride a permanent wave. Isn't that exactly what BTS did? They found a wave where nobody expected one, and they rode it until it covered the entire planet. The narrative of Munich is one of precision and passion. It's the home of BMW, where engineering is an art form, much like the razor-sharp choreography that BTS is known for. Every movement, every beat, every light cue in the 2026 tour is engineered for maximum emotional impact. But beyond the machines and the history, there's the army. The German army has waded through seasons of silence, through the cold winters of the hiatus, and now they are coming out in droves. They aren't just coming for a concert, they are coming for a reunion. The streets around the Viktualienmarkt are already buzzing with fans sharing stories of how Spring Day got them through the toughest times. This isn't just entertainment, it's a collective healing session set against the backdrop of one of Europe's most sophisticated cities. As we look at the logistics, Munich is the perfect gateway. Its central location means fans from Austria, Switzerland, and even the Czech Republic are flooding in, turning the city into a multicultural hub of purple unity. There's something hauntingly beautiful about the idea of 7 voices echoing through a city that has heard the footsteps of history's greatest thinkers. When the first notes of their opening track hit the speakers and the LED screens ignite the Bavarian night, the world will know that the kings are back. The Rebirth isn't just a title, it's a reality being forged in the iron and grace of Munich. Can you hear the chant starting to rise from the stadium? Can you feel the ground shake as 70,000 voices call out their names in unison? The Bavarian throne has been waiting, and the crown is finally being reclaimed. In a city that treats beer as a staple food and art as a way of life, BTS is bringing a new kind of nourishment for the soul. The question is, are you ready to witness the moment the clock at the new town hall strikes purple? Number 13. Zurich. The Alpine Symphony, where time stands still for 7. Can you feel the shift in the air? We're moving from the ironclad power of Bavaria to the crystalline, high-altitude elegance of Switzerland's global heart. Welcome to Zurich, a city where luxury isn't just a lifestyle, it's the atmosphere itself. But don't let the polished banks of the Limmat River and the stoic faces of the Bahnhofstrasse fool you. Beneath that calm, Swiss exterior, a purple fire is about to ignite that will melt the glaciers of the nearby Alps. Zurich is the city of precision, the city of watches, and it is the absolute perfect setting for the return of a group that has mastered the art of timing. After years of waiting, the Rebirth tour lands here, in a place where every second is measured in gold, reminding us that the time we spent apart only made this reunion more precious. Imagine the scene at the Letzigrund Stadium, usually a temple for world-class athletics, now being transformed into a sanctuary for the world's most influential artists. As the sun dips behind the Uetliberg mountain, casting a golden glow over the lake, the city of Zurich begins to hum with an energy that no Swiss watch could ever quantify. Why Zurich, you ask? Because this city represents the pinnacle of quality and the height of achievement, the top of the world feeling that mirrors BTS's own ascent to the summit of the global music industry. Historically, Zurich has been a haven for revolutionaries and thinkers, from the Dadaists at Cabaret Voltaire, who challenged the very definition of art, to James Joyce, who found his final resting place here. In 2026, BTS becomes part of that revolutionary lineage, challenging the boundaries of what a pop group can be. You can almost see V wandering through the Kunsthaus Zurich, his sharp eyes lingering on the masterpieces of Alberto Giacometti, finding a kindred spirit in the elongated, soulful sculptures that reflect the complexity of the human condition. You can imagine Suga, the master producer, standing on the Quaibrücke, listening to the rhythmic lapping of the water against the boats and the distant chime of church bells, perhaps finding the perfect tempo for a new track in the silence of the Swiss night. The detail of this city is what makes it so immersive. It's in the taste of the world-famous Lindt chocolate that fans share while waiting in line, or the reflection of purple light sticks in the crystal-clear waters of Lake Zurich. This isn't just a concert, it's a sensory experience that blends the high-tech production of 2026 with the timeless, natural beauty of Switzerland. There's a reflection here, an emotional depth that comes with the Swiss landscape. Just as the mountains are immovable and eternal, the bond between BTS and ARMY has proven to be indestructible through the tests of time and distance. The narration of Zurich is one of the Great Return. It's about the silence being broken by a roar so loud it echoes off the mountain peaks. As the members take the stage, the sheer scale of the production lasers cutting through the thin alpine air, pyrotechnics reflecting off the glass facades of the financial district, will be a sight to behold. But the true magic lies in the quiet moments. Can you imagine the emotional weight of Life Goes On being sung in a city that literally embodies the steady, unstoppable passage of time? The Swiss Army, known for their dedicated but respectful passion, have turned the city into a purple wonderland. From the boutiques of the Old Town to the trendy cafes of Zurich West, the BTS effect is everywhere. This is a city that values privacy and peace, yet for these 2 nights, it throws open its doors to celebrate a global phenomenon. It's a paradox, isn't it? A group from the bustling streets of Seoul finding a home in the tranquil, expensive heart of Europe. But that's the power of their music. It bridges the gap between the frantic energy of the modern world and the serene beauty of a mountain lake. As we look at the fans gathering from every corner of the Swiss Confederation, from the French-speaking shores of Geneva to the Italian-speaking valleys of Lugano, the unity is undeniable. The rebirth is in full swing here, and Zurich is the diamond in the crown of the European leg. When the final notes of the encore fade away and the fans walk back toward the main station, under the watchful gaze of the massive guardian angel sculpture by Niki de Saint-Phal, they won't just be leaving a stadium. They'll be carrying a piece of history with them. The question is, can you feel your pulse racing against the ticking of the clock? Are you ready to witness the moment when the most expensive city in the world realizes that the most valuable thing it possesses isn't in a bank vault, but on a stage at the Letzigrund? Number 12. Dublin. The Celtic heartbeat, the green land turns purple. Can you hear that? It's not just the sound of the wind whipping off the Irish Sea or the distant fiddle playing in a pub in Temple Bar. It's the sound of a million hearts skipping a beat, because the Rebirth Tour is finally touching down on the Emerald Isle. Welcome to Dublin, a city where every street corner has a story to tell and every pub has a song to sing. But in 2026, the story being told is one of a legendary return. Dublin is the city of literature, the city of rebels, and the city of soul, making it the most poetic stop on this 14-city European odyssey. When we talk about Dublin, we aren't just talking about a capital city, we are talking about a place that understands the power of the underdog. Think back to the history of Ireland, a nation that fought for its voice, much like 7 young men from South Korea who fought against the odds to become the voice of a generation. The synergy here is electric. Imagine the Aviva Stadium, that shimmering glass and steel vessel sitting by the River Dodder, being bathed in a deep, regal purple light that reflects off the dark waters of the Liffey. This isn't just a concert venue. For these nights, it's a cathedral of emotion. Dublin has always been a city of words. Think of Oscar Wilde, W.B. Yeats, and James Joyce, and you just know that RM is going to find his way to the long room at Trinity College. Can't you see him there? Surrounded by 200,000 of the world's oldest books, standing beneath the marble busts of great thinkers, perhaps finding a single line of poetry that will inspire the next decade of his songwriting. This city nurtures the soul of the intellectual artist, and the connection between BTS's introspective lyrics and Ireland's rich literary heritage is a match made in heaven. But it's not all quiet reflection. Dublin is famous for its craic, that unique Irish brand of fun, energy, and community. The Irish Army is legendary for their vocal power. They don't just sing along, they harmonize with a passion that has been passed down through generations of folk singers. As the members take the stage, the roar that will erupt from the Aviva will be heard all the way to the spire on O'Connell Street. There is something incredibly raw and honest about Dublin. It's a city that doesn't pretend to be anything it isn't, and that mirrors the realness that BTS has always championed. You can imagine J-Hope feeling the rhythm of the city, perhaps even being inspired by the street performers on Grafton Street who pour their hearts out for every passerby. Just think about the history of Irish music, from the global dominance of U2 to the soulful depths of Hozier. Dublin knows what greatness sounds like, and it has been waiting since the pre-hiatus days to welcome the Kings back to its shores. The rebirth in Dublin feels like a homecoming to a home they've never lived in, but one they deeply understand. The atmosphere is thick, with a sense of mystical energy, the Celtic twilight, as Yeats called it, where the veil between the ordinary and the extraordinary is at its thinnest. On these nights, when the purple sea of light sticks meets the green grass of the stadium, something magical is bound to happen. The fans, traveling from Cork, Galway, and even across the water from Belfast, are bringing with them a hunger that has only grown during the years of silence. And what about the weather? In Dublin, you can have 4 seasons in one day, but no amount of soft Irish rain could ever dampen the spirits of an army that has waited years for this moment. In fact, a bit of rain might just make the spring day encore even more cinematic, don't you think? Imagine 50,000 people singing about the cold winter ending while the Dublin mist settles over the stage. It's the stuff of documentary legends. The narrative of Dublin is one of the storyteller's return. It's about the power of the voice to cross oceans and bridge cultures. As the tour moves through this 12th stop, the intensity is reaching a fever pitch. This isn't just another show on the schedule. It's a cultural exchange where the seven meet the saints, the streets of street. Stephen's Green are already filling with fans exchanging handmade bracelets and sharing stories of how a group from half a world away made them feel seen in the quietest parts of Ireland. This is the beauty of the 2026 comeback. It's a reminder that no matter how much time passes, some bonds are written in the stars and carved into the ancient stones of cities like Dublin. Are you ready to feel the heartbeat of the Celtic soul? Can you hear the drums of Own echoing through the historic arches of the city? The Emerald Isle is turning purple, and the luck of the Irish has never felt more like destiny. The question is, are you ready to lose your voice in the city that invented the art of the song? Number 11. Prague. The golden labyrinth where Gothic shadows dance in purple. Step off the train at Hlavní nádraží and hold your breath, because you've just entered a living, breathing fairy tale that has been waiting centuries for this specific moment. Welcome to Prague, the city of 100 spires, where the 2026 Rebirth tour finds its most mystical and hauntingly beautiful backdrop yet. If Dublin was the soul and Zurich was the precision, Prague is the pure, unadulterated magic. There is an atmosphere here that you can't find anywhere else on Earth, a heavy, velvet-like history that clings to the Gothic arches and Baroque facades, and now it's being illuminated by the neon glow of a new era. This is the 11th stop on our journey. And honestly, the synergy between BTS's artistic evolution and the aesthetic of Prague is enough to give you chills. Think about it. This is the city of Franz Kafka, a place of surreal transformations and deep existential reflection. For a group that has spent their career exploring the map of the soul, coming to Prague in 2026 feels less like a concert stop and more like a spiritual pilgrimage. Can't you just see RM wandering across the Charles Bridge at 4 a.m.? The morning mist swirling around the 30 blackened statues of saints, his mind probably racing with the same questions of identity and legacy that haunted the great writers who walked these same stones? Prague is a city that has survived countless rebirths of its own through empires, wars, and revolutions, making it the perfect metaphor for the return of the Seven. The venue for this spectacular event? We're talking about the Eden Arena, but rumors are swirling that the production has been expanded to a massive scale at Letňany to accommodate the sheer volume of the European army descending upon the Czech Republic. Imagine the sight. The sun setting behind the great tower of St. Vitus Cathedral, the sky turning a bruised purple that matches the light sticks of 80,000 fans. As the opening notes of the show echo through the Vltava Valley, the sound bouncing off the ancient walls of the Prague castle, you realize that this is where the edutainment factor really hits home. Did you know that the Prague astronomical clock, the Orlog, has been ticking since 1410? It's the oldest working astronomical clock in the world. As it strikes the hour and the figures of the apostles march past, you can't help but reflect on the rebirth of BTS, how they've mastered the art of time, stepping away when they needed to and returning exactly when the world needed them most. The detail in this city is overwhelming. Every narrow alleyway in the old town feels like it could lead to a secret Bangtan universe portal. You can imagine V, with his Leica camera slung over his shoulder, getting lost in the Golden Lane, where alchemists once tried to turn lead into gold. Isn't that what BTS does with music? They take the heavy, leaden struggles of youth, the loneliness, the doubt, the pressure, and they transfigure it into the gold of a stadium anthem. The Czech army has been preparing for this for years, and the city is responding in kind. Local bakeries are selling purple trdelník, that delicious cinnamon-dusted chimney cake, and the medieval taverns are filled with fans from Poland, Hungary, and Slovakia who have crossed borders just to be part of this history. The emotional weight here is thick. When the group performs a song like Black Swan in a city known for its dark, dramatic arts and puppet theaters, the choreography takes on a whole new meaning. It feels theatrical, operatic, and deeply rooted in the European tradition of storytelling. This is the brilliance of the 2026 tour. It's not just about the music, it's about how that music interacts with the DNA of the host city. Prague's narrative is one of the alchemist's secret. It's about finding the magic in the darkness and the beauty in the ancient. As the pyrotechnics explode over the arena, reflecting in the river that has seen centuries of human drama, the reflection is clear. BTS aren't just pop stars. They are the modern-day alchemists of the soul. The tension in the air is palpable as fans wonder if there will be a special unit performance or a solo stage that pays homage to the city's classical roots, perhaps a piano intro that echoes the genius of Mozart, who famously loved Prague because the people here understood him. Today, the people of Prague and the armies who have claimed it as their own understand BTS in that same profound way. This 11th stop is the bridge between the grid of the tour's beginning and the legendary status of its end. It's a moment of transition, a moment of golden clarity in the heart of the Czech lands. Can you hear the chant of Kim Namjoon, Kim Sokjin, echoing off the Gothic spires? Can you feel the vibration of the bass rattling the windows of the historic Old Town Hall? The rebirth is no longer a promise. It is a shimmering, golden reality. The question is, are you ready to get lost in the labyrinth and find yourself in the music? Number 10. Lisbon. The Atlantic Gateway, a fado of fire and resurrection. Can you feel that salty Atlantic breeze cooling the heat of the Portuguese sun? Welcome to Lisboa, the city of the Seven Hills, where the 2026 Rebirth Tour reaches a crescendo of pure, sun-drenched emotion. This is the 10th stop on our list, and there is something incredibly fitting about BTS coming to the edge of the world to reclaim their global dominance. Lisboa is a city that looks out toward the horizon, a place defined by saudade, that beautiful, bittersweet Portuguese word for a deep emotional state of nostalgic longing for something or someone that one cares for and loves. For years, the Portuguese army has lived in a state of saudade, waiting for the return of the Seven Stars, and now that longing is being transformed into a volcanic explosion of joy at the Estádio da Luz. Imagine the scene. The stadium, known as the Cathedral, glowing like a ruby under the Iberian moon, while the scent of pastel de nata and grilled sardines wafts through the air from the nearby Alfama district. This is where history was written by explorers like Vasco da Gama, who set sail from these very shores to connect the East and the West. In 2026, the connection comes full circle as 7 explorers from the East arrive to conquer the hearts of the West once again. Why does Lisboa feel so vital to this tour? Because this city knows how to survive. It was leveled by the Great Earthquake of 1755 and rose from the rubble more beautiful than ever, just as BTS has navigated the pressures of global fame and the hiatus of military service to emerge stronger and more united. You can almost see Jimin dancing on the rooftop of a traditional house in the Barro Alto, his movements as fluid as the Tagus River, while the haunting, soulful sounds of a fado guitar echo in the distance. There's a rumor that Jin was spotted near the Belém Tower, marveling at the intricate Manueline architecture that has stood guard over the harbor for centuries. This city is a visual masterpiece of azulejos, those iconic blue and white ceramic tiles that tell stories on every wall. But tonight, the only story being told is the rebirth. The energy in the stadium is different here. It's more rhythmic, more percussive, reflecting the deep musical roots of the Portuguese-speaking world. As the heavy bass of Mic Drop rattles the foundations of the city, the juxtaposition of ultra-modern K-pop production against the backdrop of one of the oldest cities in Europe is breathtaking. Did you know that Lisboa is older than Rome, London, and even Paris? It has seen empires rise and fall, yet it feels as vibrant and youthful as ever, much like the timeless energy of the BTS members themselves. The detail in this narrative is the yellow tram 28 of the soul, a winding, steep journey through the highs and lows of the human experience. The Portuguese army has been preparing for this purple invasion with a fervor that is unmatched. The Praça do Comércio has been turned into a massive fan zone where people from all over the Lusophone world, Brazil, Angola, Cape Verde have gathered, making this a truly global celebration. The emotional weight of the night is palpable when the group performs a ballad. You can hear the influence of fado, the music of fate and longing in their voices, a universal language of the heart that needs no translation. This 10th stop is the gateway to the Mediterranean leg of the tour, a moment of transition where the cool Atlantic air meets the fiery passion of Southern Europe. The rebirth isn't just a performance, it's a resurrection of the spirit in a city that celebrates the beauty of the struggle. Can you hear the roar of the fans echoing off the stone walls of the Castelo de São Jorge? Can you see the purple lasers piercing through the Atlantic mist, signaling to the world that the kings are here? The question is, are you ready to let the saudade end and the celebration begin? Number 9. Milan, the Renaissance of style where art becomes immortal in purple. Are you ready to step into the world's most sophisticated runway? We've arrived in Milan, the global capital of fashion, design, and eternal art, and the ninth stop of the 2026 Rebirth tour is where the visual power of BTS reaches its absolute zenith. In a city where every street is a catwalk and every building is a masterpiece, the seven members aren't just performers. They are the ultimate icons of a new renaissance. Can you feel the electric tension in the air as you walk through the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II? The glass-domed ceilings usually echo with the clicking of high-heeled boots and the hushed tones of luxury deals. But today, there is a rhythmic chant vibrating through the mosaics. The Italian army has turned the fashion district into a purple sanctuary. Milan is the city of Leonardo da Vinci, the man who bridged the gap between science and art, and it is the perfect metaphor for a group that has bridged the gap between music, technology, and human emotion. This isn't just a concert, it's a high-fashion documentary coming to life in the most dramatic way possible. Imagine the scene at the San Siro Stadium, the La Scala of football, as it prepares to host a spectacle that would make the great opera masters weep. The architecture of the stadium, with its massive cylindrical towers and crisscrossing girders, feels like a futuristic fortress. And tonight, it's being lit up in shades of violet and magenta that can be seen from the spires of the Duomo. Why Milan? Because this city understands that beauty is a discipline. It's the home of Prada, Gucci, and Armani, and the connection between the members' legendary style and the city's DNA is undeniable. You can almost see V, the master of aesthetic, standing in the shadow of the Duomo di Milano, his silhouette perfectly framed by the 3,400 statues and 135 gargoyles that adorn the cathedral. He isn't just a tourist, he's a student of the sublime, finding the same timeless elegance in the white marble that he pours into his own performances. And what about Jimin? Can't you see him wandering through the Brera district, his movements reflecting the grace of the classical sculptures in the Pinacotheque, a living piece of art in the heart of the artistic quarter? The Rebirth in Milan is about the fusion of the classic and the cutting edge. There's a rumor that the stage costumes for this leg of the tour were designed in secret collaboration with Milan's top fashion houses, blending traditional Korean elements with Italian, tailoring a visual representation of the tour's global unity. But beyond the glitz and the glamour, there is the raw, operatic passion of the Italian fans. Italians don't just listen to music, they live it, they breathe it, and they scream it from the depths of their souls. When the opening beat of Blood, Sweat and Tears, a song that feels like a Baroque masterpiece in itself, hits the San Siro, the sound will be like a thunderclap across the Lombardy plains. Did you know that Milan is the home of The Last Supper? A painting about a defining moment, a gathering of brothers, and a legacy that changed the world. As the seven members stand together on that stage in 2026, the reflection is hauntingly beautiful. They have had their own Last Supper moments before the hiatus, and now they are having their first light moment of the rebirth. The detail in this city is sensory overload, the taste of a perfect espresso at a sidewalk cafe, the smell of expensive leather in the air, and the sight of thousands of purple ribbons tied to the railings of the Navigli canals. This ninth stop is the point where the tour moves from a concert to a cultural movement. The emotional weight is staggering. You'll see fans who have traveled from Rome, Naples, and even Sicily, standing side by side with fashionistas who have traded their front row seats at Fashion Week for a spot in the mosh pit. The narration of Milan is, "The masterpiece unveiled." It's about the perfection of the craft. As the members sweat under the stadium lights, their choreography executed with the precision of a Swiss watch but the soul of an Italian opera, you realize that BTS has become the Da Vinci's of the 21st century. The question is, can you handle the intensity of a city that was built on the foundation of passion? Are you ready to witness the moment when the world's most stylish city bows down to the kings of the stage? The Purple Revolution has taken the runway, and the world is watching in awe. Number 8. Antwerp. The Diamond of the North, a hidden brilliance refracted in purple. Are you ready to enter the glittering heart of the Low Countries? Welcome to Antwerp, the diamond capital of the world, and the 8th stop on the 2026 Rebirth World Tour. While Brussels might be the political hub, Antwerp is the soul, a city of avant-garde fashion, world-class art, and a port that has connected the world for centuries. Coming here after the high-octane energy of Milan feels like stepping into a secret, sophisticated sanctuary. This is where the rough edges of the hiatus are finally polished into a blinding brilliance. Can you feel the vibe? The air is thick with the scent of Belgian waffles and the sea breeze from the Scheldt River, but there's a new electricity humming through the cobblestone streets of the Vlijkensgang. This city is famous for the Antwerp Six, the legendary group of designers who turned the fashion world upside down in the 80 seconds, and it's the perfect parallel for BTS, a group of 7 who did exactly the same for the music industry. As you walk past the diamond showrooms near the central station, arguably the most beautiful railway station in the world, with its cathedral-like stone and glass architecture, you realize that BTS is exactly like those stones, born under immense pressure, hidden away for a time, and now emerging to reflect light in a way that dazzles anyone who dares to look. Imagine the scene at the Sport Palace. It's one of the busiest arenas in the world, a place that has seen every legend from Prince to Beyoncé, but tonight, it's being wrapped in a cloak of purple mystery. The Belgian army, known for being incredibly loyal and deeply attentive to the smallest details, has been waiting since the very first rumors of the 2026 comeback began to leak. They aren't just here for the hits, they are here for the artistry. Why Antwerp? Because this is the city of Peter Paul Rubens, the master of the Baroque, whose paintings are defined by their drama, movement, and emotional intensity. You can almost see RM standing in the Rubens Schuss, his eyes tracing the massive canvases, perhaps reflecting on the Baroque complexity of their own career, the shadows of the struggle, and the radiant light of the success. There's a rumor that V spent his afternoon wandering the MoMu, fashion museum, getting lost in the conceptual designs that define this city's rebellious spirit. Antwerp doesn't follow trends, it creates them. And isn't that the very essence of the bangtan philosophy? They didn't fit into the K-pop mold, they broke the mold and built a new one. The detail of this city is in its contrasts. It's a place where medieval architecture stands side by side with the futuristic port house designed by Zaha Hadid, a building that looks like a diamond ship floating above the harbor. This is the backdrop for the 2026 tour, a blend of the ancient and the hyper-modern. When the lights go down in the Sport Palace and the first heavy bass line of Dionysus, or a new 2026 anthem shakes the rafters, the energy is primal. The Belgian fans have a way of making a massive arena feel like an intimate club. They listen to every lyric, every breath. Can you imagine the emotional weight of a solo stage here? Perhaps Jin, with his silver voice, singing a ballad that echoes through the steel beams of the arena, his voice reflecting off the glass like a ray of light, hitting a perfectly cut gem. The narrative of Antwerp is the polishing of the soul. It's about the work that goes on in the dark to prepare for the moment in the sun. Did you know that 80% of the world's rough diamonds pass through this city? It's a place of transition and refinement. For BTS, the 2026 tour is their diamond moment, the proof that they are unbreakable. The fans in the streets are talking about the Antwerp effect, how the city's cool, artistic exterior has been completely overtaken by the warmth of the purple ocean. Local chocolatiers are crafting purple-tinted pralines, and the bars around the Grote Markt are playing Spring Day on a loop. This is the 8th stop, the midpoint of our journey, where the momentum becomes unstoppable. The tension is building because everyone knows that after this, we move toward the massive stadium shows of the major capitals. But Antwerp is the connoisseur's choice. It's the city for the fans who love the deep cuts, the hidden meanings, and the raw talent. Can you hear the roars starting to build near the docks? Can you feel the vibration of the 7 stepping onto Belgian soil for the first time in years? The rebirth is no longer just a concept. It is a physical force that is reshaping the map of Europe. The question is, are you ready to see the light catch the diamond just right? Are you ready to witness the moment when the most artistic city in Europe realizes it has found its new masters of the craft? The Scheldt River is flowing purple tonight, and the Diamond City has never shone brighter. Number 7. Amsterdam, the Van Gogh of pop. A masterpiece painted in purple. Can you feel the gentle sway of the water beneath the narrow bridges as the scent of fresh stroopwafels and blooming tulips fills the morning air? We have arrived at the 7th stop of the 2026 Rebirth Tour, and it is a city that doesn't just host art, it is art. Welcome to Amsterdam, the Venice of the North. A city where freedom, creativity, and history flow together through the 165 canals that define its very soul. This isn't just another tour date. For BTS, Amsterdam is a mirror of their own evolution, a place where the golden age of Dutch masters meets the global golden age of bangtan. As we move into the heart of the Netherlands in 2026, the stakes are higher than ever. The city is buzzing with a unique kind of energy that you only find here, a blend of laid-back gezelligheid and the high-voltage anticipation of a once-in-a-lifetime reunion. Think back to 2018, the last time the full group graced the Ziggo Dome. Do you remember that electric atmosphere? It was October 13th, the day the world celebrated Jimin's birthday, and the entire city seemed to turn purple just for him. The memory of thousands of fans singing "Happy Birthday" in unison under the Dutch sky is etched into the history of this city, and now, 8 years later, the return feels like a cosmic full circle. But this time, the scale is monumental. We aren't just at the Ziggo Dome anymore. The 2026 Rebirth Tour has moved to the iconic Johan Cruyff Arena, a stadium that breathes the legend of football and is now being repurposed as a temple of musical resurrection. Why is Amsterdam so vital to the narrative of the 2026 comeback? Because this city understands the beauty of the unfinished masterpiece. Just look at the Rijksmuseum, where Rembrandt's The Night Watch stands as a testament to the power of light emerging from the darkness. Isn't that the story of BTS? After the long night of their military service, they are returning with a brilliance that is both more mature and more profound. You can almost see RM, the group's most dedicated art enthusiast, slipping away in the early hours to the museum square. Can't you imagine him standing before Van Gogh's Sunflowers? His eyes tracing the thick, emotional brushstrokes of a man who poured his entire soul into his work, regardless of whether the world was ready to listen? There is a deep philosophical connection here. Van Gogh once said, "I am seeking, I am striving, I am in it with all my heart." And that sentiment is the engine behind the 2026 album. The detail in this city is immersive. It's in the way the purple light sticks will reflect in the Amstel River, creating a shimmering path for the fans who are arriving by boat, bicycle, and train from every corner of Europe. Amsterdam is a city of transit and trade, a place that has always looked toward the horizon, and in 2026, it becomes the gateway for the North European leg of the tour. Did you know that the city is built on over 11 million wooden piles? Just like the foundation of this city, the foundation of BTS is built on something hidden but incredibly strong, their bond with each other. And with ARMY. The 2025 solo finale by Jin at the Ziggo Dome served as the perfect prologue for this moment, a farewell to the solo era that paved the way for the rebirth of the Seven. As the members take the stage at the arena, the production is rumored to include water-based pyrotechnics and holographic displays that pay homage to the Dutch landscape. Imagine a sea of purple tulips blooming digitally across the massive LED screens as Spring Day begins to play. The Dutch army is known for their doe maar gewoon attitude, a just act normal philosophy, but when BTS is in town, all bets are off. The Dam Square has been transformed into a massive pop-up village where fans are sharing stories of how Indigo or Face helped them through the years of waiting. The emotional weight of this seventh stop is anchored in the concept of freedom. Amsterdam has always been a sanctuary for those who think differently, a place where you are encouraged to be exactly who you are. This mirrors the message of love yourself that BTS has carried around the world. As the heavy, rhythmic bass of a new 2026 track shakes the stadium's foundations, you realize that this isn't just entertainment. It's a cultural synthesis. The history of the VOC, the Dutch East India Company, once brought spices and silk from the east to this harbor, but today, the most valuable export from the east is the music and the message of 7 men from Seoul. The detail is in the atmosphere, the cool wind blowing through the open roof of the stadium, the sound of 55,000 voices echoing off the glass facades of the Zuida's business district, and the sheer, unadulterated joy of a group that has found its way home. The narrative of Amsterdam is the living masterpiece. It's about the realization that art isn't just something you hang on a wall, it's something you live, something you sweat, and something you share. As the show reaches its climax, and the purple confetti falls like rain over the canals, the reflection is clear. BTS has become the new masters of the 21st century. The tension is palpable. Will they announce a special collaborative project with a local artist? Will there be a surprise guest during the encore? The mystery only adds to the allure of the Rebirth tour. Amsterdam is the seventh city, the midpoint where the past and the future collide in a burst of purple light. Can you hear the bicycles ringing their bells in a rhythmic tribute to the members? Can you feel the heartbeat of a city that has survived floods and time, now surrendering to the rhythm of the Bangtan revolution? The question is, are you ready to see the world through the eyes of a master? The canvas of the 2026 tour is being painted right now, and Amsterdam is the most vibrant color on the palette. Number 6. Berlin. The fortress of reunion, where the wall of silence crumbles. Can you feel the heavy, historic weight of the air as we cross the Spree River and enter a city that has spent decades teaching the world the true meaning of the word reunion? Welcome to Berlin, the sixth stop on the 2026 Rebirth Tour, and perhaps the most emotionally charged location on our entire European map. This isn't just a concert, it's a reckoning. If Amsterdam was a masterpiece of light, Berlin is a monument of shadows and the glorious, deafening return of the sun. To understand why Berlin is, number 6, we have to look back at the scar that never quite healed in the heart of the army, the 2020 Map of the Soul Tour. Do you remember the seats that were booked and then vanished? Do you remember the July dates at the Olympia Stadion that were swallowed by the silence of a global pandemic? For 6 long years, the ghost of that cancelled show has haunted the German capital, but in 2026, the debt is being paid in full with interest. This is the city of the Berlin Wall, a place that lived through the agony of division and the ecstasy of coming back together, making it the perfect physical manifestation of BTS's own journey through hiatus and service. Imagine the scene at the legendary Olympia Stadion, a stadium built with stone and history, where Jesse Owens once defied the odds and where, tonight, 7 men from South Korea are redefining the limits of global pop culture. As the sun sets over the Mayfeld, the massive gray columns of the stadium begin to pulse with a deep, royal purple light, a sight so surreal it feels like a glitch in the fabric of time. Why Berlin? Because this city doesn't do simple. It does grand. It does intense. Historically, Berlin has been the laboratory of the human spirit, from the Prussian kings to the avant-garde rebels of the 1920s. And today, it is the canvas for the most high-tech production in the history of live music. Can't you just see RM wandering through the Pergamon Museum on Museum Island, standing before the Ishtar Gate of Babylon, his mind drawing parallels between ancient empires and the digital empire he helped build? Can't you see V standing silently at the East Side Gallery, his fingers tracing the murals on the remains of the wall, perhaps finding a deep, quiet inspiration in the brotherly kiss or the messages of peace that have adorned these stones since 1990? The Rebirth in Berlin is a narrative of breaking barriers. The German army, known for their organized, thunderous passion, has been camping out near the Alexanderplatz, turning the shadow of the Fernsehturm, the iconic TV tower, into a gathering spot for fans from Poland, Scandinavia, and the Baltic states. There is a rumor whispering through the underground clubs of Kreuzberg that the 2026 setlist for Berlin includes a special orchestral arrangement that mirrors the city's classical heritage, a nod to the Berlin Philharmonic, blending the raw energy of Black Swan with the haunting depth of a live cello ensemble. Did you know that Berlin has more bridges than Venice? It is a city designed to connect things that were once apart, and as the first notes of OWN explode through the stadium speakers, the vibration is felt all the way to the Brandenburg Gate. This is the detail that makes the 2026 tour so immersive. It's the way the city's past and BTS's present are fused together. You can imagine Suga, the poet of the group, looking out over the Tiergarten, reflecting on the concept of the wall, the walls we build around ourselves, and the moment they finally come down. The emotional weight here is staggering, because for Berlin, reunion isn't just a marketing slogan, it's the city's identity. On this sixth stop, the tour shifts from a celebration into something more profound, a testimony to endurance. The fans are calling this the Purple Wall Show, a moment where the divide between the stage and the audience disappears entirely. Can you imagine 75,000 voices singing Spring Day in the very stadium where time stood still in 2020? The irony is beautiful. The cold, gray stone of the Olympia Stadion is being warmed by the breath of a generation that refused to forget. The edutainment factor here is peak. Berlin is a city that demands you think as much as you feel. It asks challenging questions. What does it mean to be whole again? How do we heal the gaps in our history? As the pyrotechnics light up the Berlin sky, reflecting in the glass dome of the Reichstag, the answer is clear. The rebirth is complete. The tension is at an all-time high as the tour moves into its final third, but Berlin has set a bar that is almost impossible to clear. It is the fortress of the comeback, the place where the silence finally died and the music was reborn in the heart of Europe. Can you hear the drums? Can you feel the ground beneath the Olympic bells shaking as the kings reclaim their territory? The wall has fallen, the purple ocean has flooded the city, and Berlin will never be the same again. The question is, are you ready to witness the moment history finally catches up with the dream? Number 5. Stockholm. The northern light of the soul. A Viking reunion in purple. Can you feel the sudden drop in temperature as the northern wind sweeps across the Baltic Sea, carrying with it the scent of pine and the promise of something legendary? Welcome to Stockholm, the 5th stop on the 2026 Rebirth Tour, and the city where the edutainment narrative takes a turn into the mystical and the futuristic. Stockholm isn't just a capital, it's an archipelago of 14 islands, connected by 57 bridges, a city that literally floats on the water, making it the most ethereal backdrop for the return of the 7 stars. If Berlin was about crumbling walls, Stockholm is about the northern light, that elusive, shimmering beauty that only appears after a long, dark winter. And hasn't that been the journey of BTS and ARMY? A long winter of waiting, finally broken by the arrival of the Rebirth Tour in the heart of Scandinavia. Imagine the scene at the Strawberry Arena, formerly the Friends Arena, the largest stadium in the Nordic countries, located in Solna. The retractable roof is closed against the crisp Swedish evening, creating a massive enclosed pressure cooker of emotion. Why Stockholm? Because this city is the global melody capital. Did you know that Sweden is the world's largest exporter of pop music per capita? From ABBA to Max Martin, this city knows the science of a perfect hook, and the connection between Swedish pop craftsmanship and BTS's world-class production is a match made in musical heaven. Historically, this is a city of Vikings and innovators, a place that values both the strength of the collective and the brilliance of the individual. You can almost see RM wandering through the Gamla Stan, the old town, his tall silhouette moving through the narrow medieval alleys that have stood since the 13th century. Can't you imagine him standing in front of the royal palace, reflecting on the weight of leadership and the crown that the world placed on his head? Or perhaps V, with his love for the classic and the quirky, spending an afternoon at the Skansen Open-Air Museum, fascinated by the traditional Swedish crafts and the quiet dignity of the past. There's a rumor that the 2026 tour production in Stockholm includes a specialized light show designed to mimic the Aurora Borealis' massive ribbons of purple and green light, dancing across the stadium ceiling during the performance of Mikrokosmoses or a new 2026 HE1 ballad. The detail in this city is sensory and profound. It's the taste of fika, that quintessential Swedish coffee break which the fans are sharing in the cafes of Södermalm, discussing the deep lyrical parallels between BTS's discography and Norse mythology. The Swedish army is known for their lagom spirit, not too much, not too little, just right, but when the first bass drop of Idol hits the arena, that moderation vanishes into a roar that can be heard across the Riddarfjärden. The emotional weight of this 5th stop is the concept of the navigator. Just as the Swedish explorers of old charted unknown seas, BTS has charted a path for Asian artists in the global West that no one thought possible. On these nights in Stockholm, the Rebirth feels like a celebration of that survival. Did you know that Stockholm is one of the cleanest and most sustainable cities in the world? This mirrors the clean slate of the 2026 comeback, the members returning with a fresh perspective, their spirits renewed by their time away. As the purple lasers pierce through the darkness of the Nordic night, reflecting off the glass facades of the city's tech hubs, you realize that Stockholm is where the future of the tour begins to take shape. The narrative here is the shimmering return. It's about the brilliance that comes from enduring the cold. As the show reaches its climax, with the members standing on a stage that seems to float like an island in a sea of purple light sticks, the reflection is clear. BTS are the modern-day Vikings of the soul, conquering the world not with swords, but with songs of healing and unity. The tension is building as we enter the top 5 cities of the tour, and Stockholm has provided the perfect, crystalline moment of clarity before the storm of the final stops. Can you hear the chant of Kim Namjoon? Kim Sokjin, echoing through the sleek, modern corridors of the arena. Can you feel the vibration of the 7 reclaiming their northern throne? The rebirth has reached the land of the midnight sun, and the light has never been more beautiful. The question is, are you ready to follow the stars to the edge of the world? Number 4. Madrid, the Golden Kingdom, where passion ignites the Spanish night. Can you feel that scorching golden heat radiating from the stone pavements of the Puerta del Sol, even as the sun begins its slow, dramatic descent behind the Guadarrama Mountains? Welcome to Madrid, the 4th stop on our 2026 rebirth journey, a city that doesn't just host a concert, it throws a coronation. Madrid is the capital of the sun, the heart of the Iberian Peninsula, and a place where life is lived at a higher frequency, making it the perfect stage for the most passionate leg of the BTS comeback tour. In 2026, the air in Madrid is different. It's thick with the scent of roasted coffee and churros from San Ginés, but there's an underlying vibration, a rhythmic thrumming that tells you the kings of the East have arrived to claim their European throne. Why Madrid? Because this is the city of the Golden Triangle of art, a place that understands that true genius is timeless, and for a group that has spent over a decade redefining global culture, coming to Madrid is a homecoming to the very source of artistic fire. Imagine the scene at the newly renovated Santiago Bernabéu Stadium, the legendary White House of Real Madrid, being transformed into a colossal purple fortress. The stadium's futuristic steel skin, which can project light and movement, is pulsating in sync with the heartbeat of 85,000 fans, creating a glowing beacon of hope in the middle of the Castellana district. Historically, Madrid is a city of transformation, from its roots as a 9th-century Moorish fortress called Merit to the sprawling, regal capital of the Spanish Empire. This narrative of growth and power is the perfect mirror for BTS's 2026 return. You can almost see RM standing in the silent, hallowed halls of the Prado Museum, his gaze locked onto Velázquez's Las Meninas, pondering the layers of reality and the relationship between the artist and the observer, a theme that has haunted his own solo work and the group's conceptual depth. You can imagine V wandering through the crystal-clear glass walls of the Palacio de Cristal in Retiro Park, the sunlight hitting the iron framework in a way that reminds him of a scene from Singularity, finding peace in the intersection of nature and architecture. This city thrives on duende, that mysterious Spanish power of soul and expression, and when BTS takes the stage, the fusion of K-pop precision and Spanish passion creates an explosion of energy that might just be the highlight of the entire tour. The Spanish army, known for being among the loudest and most physically expressive in the world, has turned the Plaza Mayor into a sea of purple, with fans from across Latin America and the Mediterranean gathering to witness history. There's a rumor that for the Madrid show, J-Hope has prepared a dance break that incorporates the sharp staccato rhythms of flamenco, a tribute to the city's deep musical heritage. Did you know that Madrid is the highest capital city in Europe? It literally sits closer to the sky, and tonight, as the purple lasers cut through the thin, dry air, it feels like the group is performing amongst the stars. The detail in this city is visceral. It's the taste of the first sip of iced horchata in a crowded square, the sight of thousands of purple banners hanging from the balconies of the Malasaña district, and the sound of a city that refuses to sleep until the final note of the encore has faded. The rebirth in Madrid is a story of La Movida, the famous cultural movement of the 80 seconds that saw the city explode with new freedom and creativity after years of silence. For BTS, 2026 is their own Movida, a post-hiatus explosion of art that refuses to be contained. As the show reaches its peak, and the heavy industrial beats of Dionysus or a new 2026 stadium anthem shake the very foundation of the Bernabeu, the reflection is undeniable. This isn't just a tour. It's a cultural revolution set to the beat of 7 hearts. Can you hear the chant of Kim Namjoon, Kim Sokjin, echoing through the historic arches of the Puerta de Alcalá? Can you feel the ground vibrating as 85,000 people jump in unison, turning the Spanish capital into the epicenter of the purple world? The question is, are you ready to surrender to the fire of the Spanish night? Are you ready to see the most historic stadium in football history bow down to the kings of music? The Rebirth has found its soul in the sun of Madrid, and the flame has never burned brighter. Number 3. Barcelona. The Mediterranean muse, the colors of Gaudí in a purple dream. Can you feel the warm, salt-kissed breeze of the Mediterranean brushing against your skin as the rhythmic pulse of a Spanish guitar blends with the distant roar of a stadium in the distance? Welcome to Barcelona, the third stop on our epic 2026 Rebirth journey. A city that doesn't just embrace art, it lives and breathes it in every mosaic, every wave, and every sunset. Barcelona is the soul of Catalonia, a place where the mountains of Montjuic meet the deep blue of the sea. And in 2026, it is the city where the artistic vision of BTS reaches its most colorful and avant-garde peak. This isn't just another concert stop. It is a cultural collision between the genius of the East and the architectural wonders of the West. Why is Barcelona sitting so high at number 3? Because this city is the ultimate muse. Historically, it has inspired the world's greatest dreamers from Picasso to Miro, and now it serves as the backdrop for the return of the 7 dreamers who changed the world. Imagine the scene at the Estadi Olympique Louise Companies, perched high on the hill of Montjuic, overlooking the entire sprawling metropolis. The stadium, which famously hosted the 1992 Olympics, is being draped in a shimmering purple fabric of light that reflects off the Mediterranean waters, making it look like a crown resting above the city. As 60,000 fans climb the winding roads to reach the summit, the air is thick with a sense of destiny. Did you know that 2026 is also the year the Sagrada Familia, Antoni Gaudi's magnum opus, is finally slated for completion after 144 years of construction? The timing is almost eerie, a masterpiece a century in the making, reaching its finale just as BTS enters its most mature and realized era. You can almost see RM wandering through the forest of stone pillars inside the basilica, his head tilted back as the sunlight filters through the stained glass in a kaleidoscope of violet, blue, and gold. Can't you imagine him finding the words for a new anthem in the silence of that stone forest? This city is a labyrinth of stories. You can see V standing on the balconies of Casa Batlló, the House of Bones, marveling at the organic skeletal shapes that look more like a dream than a building. There is a deep emotional synergy here. Just as Gaudí rejected the straight lines of the world in favor of the curves of nature, BTS has rejected the standard pop star mold in favor of a raw, human truth. The detail in this city is visceral. It's in the taste of the fresh seafood at La Boqueria market, the sound of the fans singing Microcosmos as they walk along the beach of Barceloneta, and the sight of the Magic Fountain of Montjuic performing a special light and water show choreographed to Black Swan and DNA. The Spanish and Catalan armies are legendary for their heat. They don't just cheer, they vibrate. When the first heavy drum beat of a 2026 title track echoes across the Olympic Stadium, the sound will bounce off the mountains and carry all the way to the Gothic Quarter. This third stop is where the edutainment narrative explores the concept of art as a living organism. Just as Barcelona has evolved from a Roman colony to a global tech and art hub, the 2026 tour shows a group that has evolved from idols to icons of human resilience. There's a rumor that for this show, Jimin has prepared a solo performance that utilizes the stadium's historical architecture, perhaps a dance piece that starts on the rim of the arena against the backdrop of the city lights. Can you imagine the emotional weight of Spring Day being sung in a city that celebrates the eternal return of life and color? Barcelona is the city of the sun that never sets on art, and for these 2 nights, that sun is purple. The fans from across Southern Europe, North Africa, and the Mediterranean islands have turned the Las Ramblas into a purple river of unity. This is the beauty of the Rebirth Tour. It takes the ancient stones of a city like Barcelona and breathes new electric life into them. The narrative of Barcelona is the kaleidoscope of the soul. It's about the realization that we are all made of different colors, different broken pieces that form a beautiful mosaic when put together, much like the Trencadís tiles in Park Güell. As the show reaches its climax and the pyrotechnics explode over the Mediterranean, lighting up the sky above the Sagrada Familia, the reflection is clear. BTS are the modern architects of the human heart. The tension is reaching a breaking point as we move toward the final two cities on the list. Barcelona has provided the passion, the color, and the artistic depth that only a Mediterranean capital can offer. Can you hear the chant of Kim Namjoon, Kim Seokjin, rising from the hill of Montjuic and echoing through the ancient Roman walls? Can you feel the heartbeat of a city that has survived empires and revolutions, now surrendering to the rhythm of the seven? The rebirth has found its masterpiece in the colors of Barcelona, and the world will never look at a sunset the same way again. The question is, are you ready to see the colors of your own soul reflected in the purple light of the Mediterranean? Number 2. London. The 21st century Beatles, the British Empire turns purple. Can you hear the heavy chimes of Big Ben echoing through the mist as the scent of Earl Grey tea and damp pavement fills the London air? We have arrived at the penultimate stop of the 2026 Rebirth Tour, and it is the city that holds the keys to the kingdom of global music. Welcome to London, the legendary capital, where history is written in the fog of the Thames and where the 21st century Beatles are returning to claim their rightful place in the pantheon of British music royalty. This isn't just a concert stop, it is a cultural coronation. London is the city that once broke the wall for BTS, and coming back here in 2026 is like a homecoming to the very heart of the Western musical empire. Why is London sitting at number 2? Because this city is the ultimate test of a legend's endurance. It is the home of Queen, the Rolling Stones, Adele, and Coldplay. And when BTS steps onto London soil, they aren't just guest stars, they are the main event in the world's most prestigious arena of sound. Historically, London has always been a city of layers, from its Roman roots as Londinium in AD 43 to the sprawling multicultural metropolis of today, where over 300 languages are spoken on every street corner. This diversity is the secret ingredient of the London Army. They are a microcosm of the world, a vibrant, shouting, singing testimony to the power of a message that transcends borders. As we look at the 2026 tour, the tension is reaching a fever pitch because the memory of 2019 still hangs heavy over Wembley Stadium. Do you remember that night? When Suga confessed he couldn't sleep because he was about to stand on the stage where Freddie Mercury once ruled the world during Live Aid? That legacy is being reborn in 2026, but this time, the Purple Ocean is larger, deeper, and more resilient than ever. The stadium itself, that iconic white arch visible for miles across North London, is being illuminated in a regal violet that can be seen from the Shard to the London Eye. Imagine the logistics of a city being completely taken over by 7 men from Seoul. The London Underground, the oldest subway system in the world since 1863, is being flooded with fans wearing purple hoodies, their light sticks peeking out of backpacks as they navigate the Jubilee line. You can almost see the members themselves finding their own quiet corners of this massive city. Imagine RM, the eternal seeker of art, spending hours in the British Museum, standing before the Rosetta Stone and reflecting on how music has become the new universal translator for the human experience. Can't you see him wandering through the Victoria and Albert Museum, perhaps stopping by the Hallyu exhibition, seeing their own stage outfits from Idol displayed like artifacts of a revolution? The irony isn't lost on him. They are no longer just artists, they are part of history. And then there's V, the soul of the group, walking through the quiet, leafy squares of Kensington. Or taking a solitary moment at the National Gallery, his eyes tracing the light in a Turner painting, finding the same melancholic beauty that he pours into his own baritone vocals. The detail of this 2026 return is staggering. It's in the way the fans have turned Piccadilly Circus into a permanent BTS festival, with the massive digital screens flashing Welcome Home 7 every few minutes. It's in the taste of a hot pie from a local pub where armies from Germany, France, and the US are sitting together, debating which new 2026 track will be the one to finally win the elusive Brit Award. The emotional weight of London is anchored in the concept of the wall. As RM famously said at Wembley in 2019, the UK was always the big wall for them, the final frontier of musical validation. By 2026, that wall hasn't just been broken, it has been completely dismantled and rebuilt into a bridge of purple light. But we cannot talk about London without mentioning the raw, heartbreaking memory of 2018 at the O2 Arena. Do you remember Jungkook? The youngest, the powerhouse, sitting in a chair during his very first London show because of a heel injury, his eyes filled with tears as he apologized to a crowd that loved him regardless of whether he could dance or not. That moment of vulnerability is what makes the 2026 return so powerful. When he finally steps onto that Wembley stage in full health, his feet hitting the floor with the force of a thunderclap during the opening choreography, the roar that will erupt from 90,000 fans will be enough to shake the foundations of the Tower of London. It is a narrative of redemption, of coming back stronger after the winter. Did you know that London is technically classed as a forest because of its density of trees? This urban forest is the perfect metaphor for the Bangtan universe, a place where life grows in the most unexpected urban spaces. The 2026 production is rumored to be the most expensive in British history, involving massive moving stages that mimic the rise and fall of the Thames and pyrotechnics that rival the New Year's Eve display. But the true magic isn't in the lights, it's in the connection. The British Army is known for their loud and proud energy, a vocal power that rivals the terraces of a Premier League football match. When they sing Spring Day in 2026, the harmony of 90,000 voices in the London night will be a sound that echoes through the centuries, joining the ghosts of every great artist who ever called this city home. As the tour moves toward its grand finale, London stands as the ultimate proof of BTS's global permanence. They are no longer just a trend, they are an institution. They are the new Fab Four multiplied by 7. The tension is palpable. Will there be a special guest appearance by a British legend? Will they recreate the iconic Abbey Road crossing for a new album cover? The mystery is part of the allure. London is the city of the crown, and tonight, the crown is purple. Can you feel the heartbeat of the city syncing with the bass of Mic Drop? Can you see the ravens at the Tower of London watching the purple lasers pierce the fog? The Rebirth has conquered the capital of the world, and the British Empire has never looked more beautiful in its violet hue. The question is, are you ready to cross the road into history with them? Are you ready to see the most iconic music city in the world bow down to the 7 kings who turned the fog into a purple dream? Number 1. Paris. The city of light and legend. The final resurrection in the heart of France. Close your eyes and let the sound of the world's most romantic city wash over you. The gentle hum of the Seine, the rhythmic clicking of heels on the Haussmann boulevards, and the distant, haunting melody of an accordion. But wait, can you feel that shift? The romantic air of Paris is being electrified by a frequency so high it's rattling the iron lattice of the Eiffel Tower. We have finally reached the summit, the pinnacle of the 2026 Rebirth World Tour. Welcome to Paris, the #1 city on our European Odyssey, where the journey of 7 stars doesn't just reach a climax, it reaches immortality. Why Paris? Because this isn't just a city, it is a global stage for the ultimate human drama. Historically, Paris has been the center of revolutions, the birthplace of modern art, and the sanctuary for every great soul who dared to dream beyond the possible. In 2026, BTS isn't just visiting. They are the new sun around which the City of Light revolves. This is the first stop for a reason. It is the definitive statement of their rebirth. After years of silence, the most prestigious capital in the world has surrendered its keys to 7 young men from Seoul. Imagine the scene at the Stade de France, a gargantuan temple of glass and steel that has witnessed the crowning of world champions and the roars of the greatest legends in history. Tonight, it is bathed in a purple so deep it looks like the night sky itself has fallen onto the turf. 80,000 people. No, 80,000 souls have gathered from every corner of the planet, turning the Saint-Denis district into the beating heart of a global nation. Why does Paris feel like the only choice for the top spot? It's the edutainment factor of legacy. Did you know that the Louvre is not just a museum but a fortress of human survival? It has protected the world's most precious art through wars and time. In 2026, the connection between BTS and the Louvre is more than just symbolic. You can almost see Jimin, the global ambassador of Dior, and the human muse, standing silently before the winged victory of Samothrace. Can't you see him there? 2 symbols of grace and power, separated by thousands of years, but united in their ability to stop time. Jimin's relationship with Paris is legendary. His Jimin effect has turned even the quietest galleries of the Louvre into places of pilgrimage for ARMY. This city is where he truly belongs, a place that understands the fluidity of his dance and the ethereal quality of his voice. And then there's V, the master of Celine and Cartier, whose presence at the Paris Fashion Week in 2025 and 2026 has become the stuff of fashion folklore. You can imagine him wandering through the Tuileries garden, his camera capturing the interplay of shadow and light on the marble statues, perhaps finding the visual aesthetic for the rebirth era in the timeless elegance of French neoclassicism. He is the modern-day flaneur, the passionate spectator of the city, whose every movement feels like a scene from a Nouvelle Vague film. The detail of this 2026 return is staggering. It's in the way the fans have turned the Place de la Concorde into a sea of purple banners. It's in the taste of a Bora macaron from a high-end patisserie in the Marais and the sound of the spring day melody being played on the bells of a historic cathedral. This is the city where BTS once stood before 400 world officials, including the South Korean president, during the Korea-France Friendship Concert in 2018. Back then, they were ambassadors of a rising culture. Today, in 2026, they are the architects of a new world. The emotional weight of Paris is anchored in the concept of the resurrection. Think back to 2019 at the Stade de France, the Speak Yourself tour. Do you remember the rain? The members, drenched but radiant, performing with a ferocity that defied the elements. That image of them standing under the Parisian sky, their white suits clinging to them as they sang Mikrokosmos, is etched into the collective memory of ARMY. In 2026, that rain has been replaced by the fire of 1,000 pyrotechnics. The production for the Paris show is rumored to be the largest ever staged in France, featuring a stage that expands like a blooming flower, a purple rose of Sharon, symbolizing the group's national roots and their global flourishing. But beyond the spectacle, there is the raw intellectual depth of Paris. This is the city of Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir, a place that prizes the map of the soul above all else. You can imagine RM, the group's philosopher king, spending his afternoon at the Shakespeare and Company bookstore, his fingers tracing the spines of books that have inspired generations of rebels. Can't you see him reflecting on the existentialism of their comeback? He knows that 2026 isn't just about music, it's about the act of being. The French army, known for their sophisticated, deep-rooted love for the group's lyricism, has spent months preparing the Paris Project, a massive fan event at the Trocadero where thousands will gather to recite the group's lyrics as poetry against the backdrop of the Eiffel Tower. It is a testament to the fact that in Paris, music is never just entertainment, it is a philosophy of life. Did you know that Paris is known as the City of Light because it was the first city in Europe to use gas street lighting in the 19th century? Today, the light comes from the millions of army bombs that illuminate the night, a digital galaxy that rivals the stars above. The narrative of Paris is the final victory. It is the moment where the struggle of the hiatus, the loneliness of the service, and the weight of the crown are all vindicated. As the members stand on the stage of the Stade de France, their voices rising as one to sing a new 2026 anthem of unity, the reflection is profound. They have returned not as they were, but as they were always meant to be. The tension is at its absolute limit. Will they perform a secret track? Will the show end with a message that defines the next decade of their career? The mystery is the fuel for the fire. Paris is the first city because it is the only city that can hold the weight of this legacy. Can you hear the chant of Kim Namjoon, Kim Seok-jin echoing through the Arc de Triomphe? Can you feel the vibration of the seven reclaiming the most beautiful city on earth? The rebirth has reached its zenith, the purple ocean has conquered the Seine, and Paris has never looked more regal. The question is, are you ready to witness the moment the world finally stands still for the kings of the stage? The sun is setting over the Louvre, the lights are coming up at the Stade de France, and history is being written in purple ink. Welcome to the finale. Welcome to the rebirth. Welcome to number one.